I'm not good with money. I'm sure I'll fail again. You are not just expressing a feeling, you are programming. And the underlying operating system, which controls up to 95% of your behavior, is recording each command with precision and absolute loyalty. I've met so many people who don't understand why they keep repeating the same old results. They try to change their behavior, change their tools, change their environment, yet the outcomes keep cycling back. And the reason is they've never changed the most important factor, the signal they're sending to the subconscious. You can use willpower to force yourself to focus for a few hours, a few days, even a few weeks. But if the underlying operating system is still running on old beliefs, you'll soon be pulled back to your original state. Everything you're displaying externally is just the visible tip of the iceberg. The determining part is still the internal programming, sown by the very things you say, think, and repeat every day. The subconscious doesn't joke. It doesn't know whether you're being sarcastic or sincere. It only hears, I always forget things. I never get lucky. I'm disorganized. I'm not good at communicating. I always get taken advantage of. And it replies, understood. I will continue to help you live that way. And so you live exactly that way, not because of fate, but because of the commands you've issued. You turn phrases into directives. You turn fleeting emotions into long-term programming. And then you wonder why you can't break through. If you want to change your life, you cannot take lightly the way you speak to yourself. Words are code. Emotions are the shaping material. Repetition is the recording mechanism. When combined over time, these three elements form a deep imprint in your cortex, becoming the default standard for all future behavior. When you say, I'm learning to master my finances, the brain starts searching for proof. When you say, I have the ability to stay calm under pressure, the subconscious activates the corresponding response. When you say, I'm building my life to the highest standard I believe in, your entire nervous system comes into alignment. But if you keep saying, I'm tired, I'm stupid, I've got nothing left to give, then that same nervous system will support your collapse even faster. You cannot live beyond the operating system you've installed yourself. To change the outcome, you must change the directive. And that begins with language discipline. Every sentence you utter, whether whispered in your mind or spoken out loud, is a subconscious prayer. And you are constantly being answered, not by magic, but by repeated behaviors, physiological responses, spontaneous emotions, and systematic decision. The subconscious doesn't choose what's best for you. It simply serves what's most clear, most consistent, most emphasized. So if you don't manage your thoughts and words, they will eventually manage you. I once practiced a simple discipline. Every time I wanted to criticize myself, I had to pause and convert the statement into an empowering version. Instead of saying, I never get things right, I said, I'm learning to get better each time. Instead of saying, I'm afraid of public speaking, I said, I'm training myself to grow more confident every day. That's not self-deception. That's a linguistic strategy for reprogramming, because you cannot keep speaking of fear and expect yourself to become courageous. You must speak the version you want to become until the subconscious has no reason left to doubt it. And once the subconscious receives the new command, you'll feel the change start to happen without force. You act differently. You react differently. You choose differently. You feel as if a new version of you is operating automatically. That's not an illusion. That's the subconscious doing its job exactly as it's been programmed to do. And the starting point of that programming, nothing other than the words and thoughts you maintain each day. So be careful with every word you say. Be honest, but don't self-destruct. Acknowledge your weaknesses, but don't turn them into your identity. Recognize the difficulty, but don't turn it into destiny. Every time you repeat something negative, ask yourself, do I want this to become my reality? If not, stop saying it, choose different words. Retrain your mind. Master your speech as if you were holding your fate in your hands, because you truly are. The subconscious doesn't joke. It also doesn't wait for you to be ready. It's executing commands right now. And if you're not giving it intentional directives, it will carry out random ones. But if you choose to send clear, powerful, positive commands, you'll begin to see your life shift in an entirely new direction, not through force, not through pressure, but simply by aligning with the law. You don't need to fight your subconscious, you just need to cooperate with it by planting the right seeds, words, images, deliberately repeated thoughts. And one day you'll find yourself naturally acting like the person you once dreamed of becoming, not because you forced it, but because you said it enough times for the subconscious to believe, this is who I really am. And from that moment on, everything begins to change. Belief is not a block of steel. It is a seed. And like any seed, if you plant it in the wrong environment, expose it to ridicule, skepticism, sarcasm, or toxic energy, it will wither before it has a chance to take root, not because it's weak, but because you didn't protect it well enough. Many dreams have never materialized, not due to a lack of talent or opportunity, but because they were crushed during their sprouting stage, crushed by advice disguised as concern, by mockery from those who call themselves realists, by the cold gaze of someone who has never dared to believe in anything long enough. You cannot leave your fledgling belief exposed in a world accustomed to surviving on doubt. If you don't build a wall around it, don't be surprised when it gets trampled. I've seen many people start with burning passion, only to fade after a few conversations with the wrong people. They spoke of their project, their goal, their newly sparked idea, and the other person didn't attack directly but dropped a few casual lines. Sounds risky. Has anyone ever succeeded with that? The market's really tough right now. Are you even capable of this? These words weren't harsh, but like drops of acid dripping steadily onto an area of belief not yet solidified. Within a few weeks, that person began to doubt themselves. Then they stopped, and that dream never came back. You must learn to protect the most sacred space within you, your belief. When you've just planted a big goal, don't offer it up for feedback. Let it sprout silently in solitude, watered by discipline, warmed by consistency, shielded from the poisonous winds of those who've never understood you. Don't share your dream with someone who can't even hold on to their own. They're not trying to sabotage you. They're just living within limits they've never dared to transcend. And when they see you stepping beyond those limits, they feel threatened, because your progress makes them reflect on their own stagnation. There's a timeless principle. When you begin to raise your standards, you'll naturally drift away from your old crowd, not because you look down on them, but because the energy no longer aligns. Someone building a dream cannot spend hours chatting with someone who only knows how to complain. Someone mapping out a clear plan cannot keep seeking advice from someone who merely drifts through the days. You don't need to act superior, but you do need to stay loyal to your path, and to do that, you must have the courage to be silent at the right time, to say no in the right place, to choose the right circle of people. Belief cannot survive in chaos. It needs space. It needs quiet to take shape. It needs to be repeated in your mind, not to be boasted about to others, but to be deeply engraved into your subconscious. Every time you say to yourself, I'm building this, it's real, I am capable, I'm on the right track, you're creating an invisible layer of protection around that seed. And every time you expose it to doubt from someone who doesn't understand, you're weakening.